Hello, everyone, and welcome to long-awaited another edition of the All Blaze No Glory podcast. Um, I'm here to just talk some stuff, talk about what's going on in the world of sport from my perspective, try and catch up on a few things, a few points of view, and introduce you to what's going to be hopefully a good, successful Steel Queens portion of this podcast, which a lot of the media stuff will be dedicated to come moving forward, to looking at the women's game. If you're interested in women's ice hockey in the UK, best place to go is Ice Maidens on Facebook. They're really good at keeping everyone up to date. Also, check out NIHL Stats, who have stats for all the women's leagues as well as all the men's leagues in the EIHA, which is English Ice Hockey League. You're probably all wondering, if you're not a regular listener, you don't know about ice hockey, why you're talking about the EIHL and the English Ice Hockey League. Well, that is because they run our league. So all our leagues fall under that. So both Solway and us fall under the EIHA league. The EIHL is a different thing, the Elite League, which sadly brings me on to one thing I want to touch on. Obviously, it's been a tough week in hockey for everybody, and with the unfortunate passing of Adam Johnson. I'd just like to essentially say my thoughts to everyone involved in the situation, to Adam's family, as well as his teammates, and to the players on the other team, on the Sheffield Steelers, who were involved. So the Nottingham Panthers and the Sheffield Steelers were playing. For those of you who don't know, unfortunately, Adam's neck was cut by a skate, and he sadly passed away. It's a complete tragic event, and it's taken a lot out of the hockey community. I think a lot of people are questioning whether they want to continue playing, and there's people who are questioning whether or not they want their children to continue playing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how you should feel about it. It's not for me to do that. What I do know is it hit me quite hard as a coach about player safety and ensuring players were safe. But also it's just a totally tragic loss, and it's a real shame for both the player, his family, both teams on the ice, all the fans that were there. I can only wish you all the best, and I hope everyone's starting to heal from what they saw, and the teammates are starting to heal. So I don't know if I don't want to dwell on it too much longer, because I know some of you that listen to this are listening for rugby takes. Some of you just listen because you like my voice, which is weird. I'm not sure I like my voice, but I just wanted to address that and say that, as part of the hockey family, which I feel like I'm part of, doing coaching and things, we've all in the main stood together in this, and I hope we continue to do so. And we'll honour Adam's memory by playing well on ice and playing and trying to be safe in future, or safer in future. You'll never eliminate the risk of injury in any sport, but if we can do our best to try and reduce it, then we're doing the right thing. So I won't say any more on that. So to get back to, I suppose, the rest of the podcast, I'll touch first on some rugby stuff, and then I'm going to talk to you about the Steel Queens, and maybe talk a little bit NHL stuff, NFL stuff, and just where we're at this point in the season, and the teams I think might get to the Super Bowl. So first and foremost, rugby. Obviously, the URC started again. So if you're a Glasgow Edinburgh fan, that's exciting, right? Well, if you're a Glasgow fan, it might be more exciting if you're an Edinburgh fan. But let's talk about the World Cup, because we need to get that over and done with. Scotland obviously went out in the all blaze, no glory in the World Cup. There wasn't any blaze in that last game. I lied. There is no blaze in that last game. That was utter drivel from start to finish from Scotland. Yes, we got 2 consolation tries, but the brains were completely switched off. I'm not saying any of the players weren't trying. but there was a complete lack of brain power in amongst that squad. Why, when you get into Ireland's half, you're plugging away. You could go 5-3. I know we lost a try in the first minute. You're technically behind. You're 13 points behind based on what we needed to do. You get 3 points, it psychologically changes the game. You plug away at Ireland's corner, and they stop you and stuff you, and you don't score. Psychologically, they're already winning. And that's where it all started for me for Scotland. The whole game plan, goodness knows what. And it is one of these ones where there are people who are questioning Tooney, and I appreciate that he's the most successful coach in the professional era and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not saying he should go because I can't see we've got a better option. But what I should say is people need, like, how can I put it? People who are questioning him are not completely in the wrong. One of our biggest problems has always been this soft sort of underbelly and this like psychological block whenever we play Ireland, particularly when they've had Johnny Sexton. Now, maybe the next time we play Ireland we beat them because there's going to be no Johnny Sexton because he's retired. That would be awesome. But I don't see where we're getting that mental brain power to really step up to the next level. And like, I don't think in my lifetime, right, Scotland are going to win a World Cup. I think I'd be madness to say that I think they can win the World Cup. It's not madness to say that they should be able to win a Six Nations in my lifetime. That's not madness at all. Scotland have the players at the moment that they should be able to compete with anyone in the Six Nations. And whether it's even winning the Six Nations without a Grand Slam, they should be able to at least finish second and be close to winning a Six Nations. It's unbelievable. And in order to do that, we're going to have to compete with Ireland, and that means that we're going to have to get the space between our ears sorted out and start making better decisions. In terms of the URC, pretty good start for Edinburgh. They toughed out a couple of wins. Glasgow, I think, had a reasonable start, poor middle, and then the most recent game, reasonable start, poor second game, and a really good game in Scotstoun. And I actually managed to catch that game. It looked really, really good. I think that Glasgow seemed to have a better mentality than Edinburgh and seemed to be more able to focus. I think one of the things I noticed about the Glasgow game is maybe just how underrated George Horne is, and they should maybe be thought to bring in George Horne in to play for Scotland to start, and maybe see how he goes, because he doesn't seem to get the chance to start. And I appreciate he's maybe seen as an impact sub, but he's so good at running lines. He's so good at like marshalling things and keeping the defence honest. I think he's maybe the guy that could be our scrum half. I think Johnny Matthews has got to get more of a shout with Scotland, particularly if Cherry's maybe taking a step back. I don't know. But there's a lot of wayward lineouts going out. He seems to be not too bad, and he seems to have a nose for the try line. He's a bit of a poacher, and that is a good thing for Scotland, because you need to be able to sniff out the try line. And I think we could really use him. He's actually quite a good ball handler as well. So I'd like to see Johnny Matthews get more of a shout out, having watched Glasgow. One of the other players I'm going to, this is a bit controversial, but I think that Luke Crosby is possibly in line to take someone's spot in that starting back row. From the Edinburgh side of things, he might be the type of ball carrier that we actually need. He seems to constantly punch people back when he's running. He runs hard, straight lines, and he doesn't tend to dance so much. He played at 8 for Edinburgh in the first game because he had to, because there was an injury before the game. And I thought he was excellent for Edinburgh at 8. And then he played during the Leinster game. Now, unfortunately, the Leinster game was atrocious for most of it. So it's hard to say how well he done. But he did seem to keep everyone honest. And he does seem to be quite a good tackler and stuff. So I think he could start to push out somebody. And we'll see if that happens. Tooney seems to get his favourites, and sometimes he doesn't shy away from them. And then he does weird Tooney tombola things. So we'll see. And then just to address it, I only managed to watch one of the games, but I'm really pleased that the Scottish women's rugby team won the what was it called? The WXV, I think was the right title, 2. They can't get promoted into the 1 because they're not doing promotion and relegation for a couple of years. But they went and they beat USA, who I know they've struggled with in the past. They've beaten South Africa and Japan, and I think that's excellent. I think it's great to see that the women's team are now starting to get to the point where they're beating teams that they probably should. And we'll see. I'm not saying they're going to compete with England for a while, but we'll see if they start getting a bit more competitive in the Six Nations as well. And I think that's the positive. We can't just sit here and talk crow about the negative of how bad the men's team done, and not talk about how positive the situation is for the women's game. And it's a growing part of rugby, and it's quite good to see the statistics that the women's game is starting to catch up with the men's game in terms of participation and stuff. Might never be exactly the same, but at least people now know there's an option there for females to play the game, and it's open, and that the stigma is less attached to it and all that sort of thing. So I love it. As someone who coaches a women's team in a different sport, I love it, and I'm really, really hopeful that they continue to grow, because you can't, I'm not saying that they need to be winners and winning Grand Slams and stuff shortly, but if you can't compete and keep teams honest, then you're not going to get the same amount of support. And it seems now that they're capable of at least keeping teams honest that are above them, and also beating teams, like USA and stuff, who traditionally have defeated them before. So really, really pleased about that. And I'm super, super chuffed. Having watched the South Africa game, I really enjoyed it. The other 2 games were unfortunately while I was at work, so I didn't get to see those. But seeing the South Africa game, I really enjoyed it. Some of the hands and some of the footwork from the backs were top notch, and it was great. It was great. It was some great tries in the game from both teams, actually, from what I saw. So, moving on to NFL. NFL season is upon us. My Rams are doing exactly as I expected, probably slightly better actually, which is weird considering they're under 500. But the teams that I obviously you've got the top teams that are like right now the Chiefs are normally a top team, but they're struggling. I've got a hot take that I think the Miami Dolphins are going to make the Super Bowl this year. I think that they've got the juice and they've got the ability to make the Super Bowl, and I think that's not a given, but I think it's something there's a very good chance of happening. From the NFC is a bit of a weird conference, because there's quality there obviously in the Eagles and the 49ers, even the Cowboys, and then there's sort of a lot of what people would describe as also Rams. But the one team I think I'd be remiss if I don't mention is the Detroit Lions. I don't think the Detroit Lions are going to win and get to the Super Bowl. I'd love them to. I think they're just a player or two short of that. Possibly a quarterback short, although Goff's been playing fairly well. But certainly maybe a couple of wide receivers short. Like actual game-breaking wide receivers short. Amaras and Brown is great, but I don't think he's good enough to carry the offense on his own. And I think they need maybe one more wide receiver to really put them over the line. But I do think, I'm going to say this, I think they're going to have a home playoff game, and I think they're going to win that home playoff game. I think they will probably go out in the divisional round, but I think they will definitely get to the divisional round, and I think that's a huge step up for their fans. And I really have a soft spot for him because I like Goff when he played for the Rams. Latterly, when he was a Rams player, I was getting annoyed, and I was quite glad when he was traded for Stafford, and obviously it worked out for the Rams. But in terms of Jared Goff, I do have a bit of a soft spot for him. I like Dan Campbell because he's passionate, and that's how I feel I am sometimes when I'm coaching. But we'll shelve the NFL talk because, to be honest, I've not prepped a lot. I just wanted to kind of touch on it. So, to get to, I suppose, the crux of what I really wanted to say today when I'm recording, you may or may not have noticed that I mentioned that the that I'm going to be using All Blaze No Glory, the podcast setting, for doing some Steel Queens podcasts. Now, you're probably wondering, who the hell are the Steel Queens? So the Caledonia Steel Queens are a women's ice hockey team. They were started as a women's university ice hockey team in 2018 after a couple of taster sessions in 2017. The club has grown and grown and grown. Last year at University Nationals, we had two teams. We won with our A team. Our B team finished last. So we sort of bookended the table, as it were. But one of the things about the team is that it's grown. It's increased female participation in the sport. There's girls who are now playing. There's one girl that played for us that is now playing in the elite league with the Beacons, and she started her hockey career with us. She started about 4 or 5 years ago playing with us, and then ended up, in fact, no, it's not even for 2019, and ended up playing for Whitley Bay Beacons now, who are in the elite league, which is a top women's league in the UK. So that's, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, shows that we've managed to grow players. We've got a mixture of really good players that have played for a long time. Some players that are sort of started playing with us that are stepping up and being able to play competitively in league games, and then we've got some players that are just starting their hockey journey. I want to try and bring all that on a podcast, so people know what we're doing, people can hear about us. It's not just going to be loads of Steel Queens propaganda and trying to get you to sponsor us or anything, though if you do want to sponsor us, hit me up. It's going to be talking about the team, the spirit, and it's going to be more player-led. It's not just going to be me, it's going to be some of the players talking about things, not necessarily just score updates, just talking about their hockey journey, about the club, about anything else that's going on in women's hockey that they want to talk about, or anything else in their life they want to talk about. But it's going to be more for them. I'm going to try and take a backward step and just curate it so it comes together and obviously goes online. But basically, it's my biggest passion. I love talking about rugby, but coaching the Steel Queens is in sport the thing I'm most proud of, and I want to try and bring that to a wider audience than just the hockey community. So if you see it, please give it a try. And you might not have got to this part of the podcast if you're not interested in it, so I should have maybe started with that. But please try and give it a try. See if you like it. It might be something new for you. All our games are free if you ever want to come and watch a game as well. In fact, women's ice hockey in general is free across the country. So if you live in Solway, I don't think they charge for any games. So go and check out them. Make sure you look up Solway Shark Ladies. They've got games on that's mostly Saturdays at 4 o'clock. If you live in sort of the borders, you've got Whitley Bay Beacons that play their games. They're all free to get into. There's 50-50s and stuff, but you don't have to pay anything to go to the games themselves. Go and check out a game and see if you like it. But I want to bring that to more of an audience. I want the girls to have a platform to have fun, to spread their word, because everything goes out in social media about the Steel Queens and stuff is most like it's not really getting the stories behind the players and stuff, which I think could be quite interesting because it's a different story to tell that we don't really hear about in sport. So by all means, please check that out and listen if you can. I'm not going to talk too much more. I'm just going to say thank you for listening, and I appreciate that I'm very sporadic with podcasts, and there's no motivation to actually subscribe. But if you are listening, thank you for listening to me ramble on, and I hope you have an incredible rest of the weekend, whenever you're listening to this. And thank you so much, and I'll be in touch again. Cheers.